So, warm welcome to all of you to this June month series from Consultants Forums. At least those of you who have been attending our sessions regularly, you know that at least for the last 5 years, we have been conducting this June month series regularly. This is the month where all the three key milestone days are falling, which is one is your World Environment Day, which was celebrated on June 5th. That was day before yesterday. We had a session. Today is World Food Safety Day, and on 9th of June, on Monday, we have a World Accreditation Day. The global themes this year for all these milestone days are very, very interesting. Each day has got its own theme, which has a focus on science and also has a lot of focus on the future way of doing business in all these domains. So today's session is actually about World Food Safety Day. And we have a session, Mr. Shantanu Gupta, who will be taking you across the agenda and the objective of this and all that. But I would like to explain the purpose and the objective of creating these conversations, because we all come from knowledge space, and as a country, India, we are trying to build a knowledge economy. And in fact, it's not just India, this is the global focus now. And so globally, there's a lot of, especially in the STEM domain, STEM world, there's a lot of focus going back to the scientific way of looking at things and scientific validations. Not only the governments, even the regulators. I mean, in fact, there was not much of an enforcement or an action from the regulators to various claims that are happening at the marketplace. But the global regulators like USFDA, and they're focusing more into introducing scientific-based and science-based validations. In fact, I was just reading a few days ago that all their regulatory personnel at USFDA are going to be trained on AI, and regulators are going to use artificial intelligence very closely to improve their tracing and tracking systems before they actually endorse those assurances. So this is the world of assurance. We as consultants, we come from a domain which has got a close connect with standard certifications and regulations. So all our conversations will be linked to this. So this, as we was just mentioning before the start of the session, the world of entrepreneurship has become full of claims everywhere, any sector, any domain you take, right? So the users lack knowledge, the consumers lack knowledge, because once an assurance is given, whether it is a license or a certification, these are all the assurances on quality and safety. See, once the assurance mark is given, all users and consumers assume and presume that the quality and safety is taken care of, right? But the kind of marketplace conversations that are erupting at the marketplace, the kind of issues that you are seeing, anybody reading all those legal judgments nowadays, sector specific, it's mind boggling judgments. And the judiciary is questioning only the basics now. They're not getting into any scientific side. They're just questioning the very fundamentals and basics. So it is a world of assurance where, whether it is a regulator or any conformity assessment body, everybody has a lot of responsibility and commitment to demonstrate. And all of you in the standard space know that globally, internationally, now every standard, they started introducing the social responsibility clause and business ethics into the standards. And the governance, of course, it was there, but it is just how much the governance is understood by all stakeholders is a big question mark. Many of this don't require any third party supervision, third party enforcement. The entrepreneurship calls for having a very strong responsible DNA also. Same is the case with all stakeholders, whether we are regulators or assurance agencies or consultants. The end of the day, all of us have to understand that the product is being used by an end consumer. End consumer doesn't know anything about all this. Okay, so that is one of the reasons when the product claims are getting into controversies, the end users, the consumers are questioning the regulators. They're not questioning the certification bodies or accreditation bodies because the consumers don't understand any of this. So the primary assurance, mark of assurance on a quality and safety of a product comes only from the regulator in the regulated domain. All others are voluntary players here. So the regulators have to, they consider us as kind of their part of their supply chain or value chain partners. They may not recognize all the stakeholders formally, but they also know that they rely so much on this third party assurances. So with this, that is the reason why we are having all these conversations. And this year theme is a beautiful theme that where it's about food safety, calls for science in action. So this is the theme. So at least the transition has started where the businesses have to really focus on demonstrating from a claims-based environment to a science-based, scientific validation-based kind of an environment. The kind of battles that we are seeing, the YouTube channels, the influencers, that food is everybody's business, but something is not all right, or can we say everything is not all right in the food space. So with this opening remarks, I just would like to leave the floor open for all the experts who have joined us today. Would like to personally thank all the speakers for joining us, and the audience who have been attending our sessions regularly. We will be doing more conversations in the food space. We have our own consultants fraternity from the food sector, and especially with the recent guidelines on say no to 100% claims from the regulators, we need to have some conversations. So all of us, again, I wanted to re-emphasize here that each one of us as a stakeholder have to demonstrate that responsible code of conduct. It's very tough for a consultant to question the industry because there's a lot of stickiness between the consultants and the industry. It is very tough for an assurance agency to question the industry because they also have a lot of stickiness with the industry. It is tough for a regulator to question the industry when the government says the ease of doing business assurance, industry should not be troubled so much. But who's here to listen to the voice of a consumer? It is the responsibility of the governments and the regulators to ensure that the consumer welfare is being taken into account. So that is the reason why we have designed the conversations, various topics, so that, from a different perspective and a lot of focus on the future skills. It's all about the past that we are discussing or the current we are discussing, but moving forward, the skills that are needed for the food safety professionals on the food sector itself is going to be totally different. So that is why some of the topics today we had with very specific focus on future skills and future way of doing business, achieving operational excellence also. So we request all of you to stay with us, and then I will be sharing the YouTube live links also. Please share it with others. So we will continue with the session now. So over to you, Shantanu. I would like to introduce Shantanu. Can I have the presentation, please? Speaker's presentation you have. Can you please share?
Yeah,
I would
please.
I would like to introduce our session host for the day, Mr. Shantanu Gupta, who's our fellow consultant and very active in the food sector space.
So is it visible
Because
now?
all others you will be introducing, but I have to introduce you. It's just opening up. One second. Can you see the screen?
Yeah. Let me.
And I think it's open. I think it's open now.
Yeah.
See, some signal issue, or can I share it from here? Yeah, I have it with me, and it is actually. Can you just stop sharing, Shantanu, and then redo again? It may work sometimes. So let me introduce Mr. Shantanu Gupta, who's our session host for today. As I said, he's a management system consultant, and he's the founder and founding partner in his the consultancy firm called Green Food Consultancy. And he is also a national resource person for FOSTAC trainings of FSSAI. And he's also connected and part of this Food Safety Mitra of FSSAI. And he is also a national resource person for PMF ME division for Ministry of Food Processing. And he is also Vice President, Council for Promotion, Research and Trade in Traditional Foods. And he's also a member of the Institute of Engineers India and AFSTI. And he's also an ex-lab consultant under National Tobacco Control Program, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. So over to you, Shantanu-ji. If there is any difficulty in sharing the speaker's presentation, I will ask Aarti to share it, not an issue. Right?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So welcome all the participants, and I sincerely thankful to the CC for organizing such a session that is required in the context of this particular theme, that is science in action. So participants, when I think of, okay, why this food safety day, or what is the purpose of this theme? So something that clicks to my mind is that, okay, let us have some brief about that system, but what the system actually it is, how the food safety comes into the picture, and what are the previous themes, and what should be the I would say the future theme, right? So on the in consideration to that, I would like to share a few PPTs with you, and that will also detail about this particular today's program. So let me share that to you, and since this is
can I ask
yeah,
Aarti to share if it is not? Yeah, please check. Maybe if sometimes signals is an issue.
Okay, so now it is visible, right? Hope it is visible to all of
you. It is not. That's what I'm just thinking. No, it is not visible, Shantanu-ji, actually.
So let me start again. So in the meantime...
no, I will ask Aarti to share. Just a second. She will share it. Is that fine?
Yeah.
She will share it because signals is an issue, actually. That must be the reason. She will share it. You can use it.
So that's a wonderful. So, okay.
Is this the presentation or your other presentation?
Yeah, the presentation which I prepared the slides.
Yeah. 1 second. Aarti is not there. The other presentation, Aarti. Do you have or shall I share?
Yeah. So the
which presentation, ma'am?
Which one? You just close this. I will share.
Let me try to do.
I have it. I'll share. Just give me 1 sec.
Sure. So in the meantime, we have the slides on screen. I just want to share the views what I have regarding the food safety. Since I'm associated with the food safety since last 15 years actively, and work throughout the nation, district to district, under the FOSTAC program and others also. So what I'm curious about this food safety day, why we are celebrating the food safety day, just to underline the food safety or something different is there. So when I move further, so I see that UN, United Nations, and FAO is being this organization is being constituted in the year 1948, right? And WHO, which has been constituted in the year, this FAO is constituted in the year 1945, and WHO, which has been constituted in the year 1948. They together make a codex, that is Codex Alimentarius Commission, in 1963. So this is just the timeline, right? And this Codex Alimentarius Commission decided to have a food safety day in 2016. So this is just a brief of that what I have shared. So yes, please, first slide. So that will be much more convenient and systematic.
Yeah.
So this is about the timeline, participants. Codex Alimentarius Commission in 2016, this idea of food safety day celebration comes into the picture. And in 2018, in 2018, this idea gains the momentum. And in 2019, first time the Food Safety Day is celebrated on the June 7th. And thereafter, we are regularly celebrating. And there are only two days. That is, one is Food Safety Day, and another is World Food Day. That is being UN declared specified days. The next slide, please. So this is how this Food Safety Day comes into the picture. It is an, I would say, the brainchild of Codex Alimentarius Commission, which is followed by, which is in turn constituted by WHO, FAO, and that was these are the organizations constituted by United Nations. Then thereafter, what I see, okay, what about the themes? So, okay, this is the constitution, though how the themes comes into the picture and what are the previous themes and why these themes are there. The most important part is why these themes are there. So for the sake of the understanding, in the initial first 2 years, it is everyone's business. Food safety is everyone's business. So we have to collectively take a responsibility from consumer, farmer, everyone who is related to the food, right? I don't know so far how so far we have touched upon the every segment of the society. So this is about that. The first 2 years. Then thereafter we come into the healthy tomorrow. And then in 2022, it is safer food, better health. Now we are more focusing toward the, I would say, towards the totality, right? Then in 2023, we have food standards, save lives. The focus is on maybe on the food standards. In 2024, it is food safety, prepared for the unexpected, which is in consideration to the COVID, which is being we have faced, right? And in 2015, the right now, the theme is science in action. So I wonder why we are still discussing the science. We have the HACCP since last 50 years. We are doing FOSTEC since last 18 years. So what is there? What is being lacking, or we have to introduce more science? And we have it from the speakers also with the different in the different I would say different topics. So these are these things, and just to share my idea about the science in action. So we started from farm to fork, but what I understood, it is actually from soil to soil, because we get the nutrients from the soil, and when we have to discard our food, it goes back to the soil. Not only the food, even the cooking ware and the serving ware in which we are using. So in this concept, this is my concept about the food safety. And now how this particular session will go on. In today's session, it is being divided into 5 titles. First is, that is evidence-based policy making, leveraging scientific data for food safety regulations. I think the main focus is on the leveraging how to use the scientific data. What is the benefit, how we can utilize the scientific data for making the policies. Second title is about on the standards. The title goes as standards and certifications. That is scientific integrity in assurance schemes. So we have a various standards are there, international, national standards, regulations are there. So what is the role of scientific, how scientific integrity is helping assurance? Okay, that what are the data is there, whether it is scientifically right or not. Then third topic is about the smart science, safe food, building trust through adulteration, detection, and traceability. So the main, we have to understand how adulteration could be detected and traceable so that we can have a smart and safe food. Fourth one is on the focus on food safety operators, applying science for operational excellence. Now we will drift from the understanding to the operational part in the fourth one session, second last one. And the last one session is about the futuristic approach. So you can see how the flow is come into this particular today's program. We started from the policy, we focus on the science, and how this folk science could be operational or in the futuristic approach. So for the very first topic, I am delighted to invite Pradeep Chakravarti sir. He is a very experienced and retired person from FSSAI. dealing in the product approval, and he's also active till now with various, I would say, associations. He is director at Ishanov Nutraceuticals Private Limited. His pivotal role during FSSAI is regarding the product approval, national surveillance program, capacity building, and policy development. So, sir, we welcome all of you to have some words on the policy, how the policy could be there so that we can take care food safety in a much more productive sense. Over to you, sir. I welcome you, Mr. Pradeep Chakrabarti.
Aarti, I would please share sir's presentation also. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Good afternoon to everybody. I am Pradeep Chakraborty, former director FSSAI. Today, I have been asked to speak on evidence-based policy making, leveraging scientific data for food safety regulations. So, this is a very interesting topic. In fact, I am going to speak on how FSSAI also functions, because most of the people, particularly not the industry but the consumers, are not aware of. So I am going to explain that also. Next slide, please. Yeah. So while making policy in respect of food safety regulations, a lot of scientific data is required, which are evidence-based. In fact, one of the professor of a American university once asked me that how you get data, because you have very little access to data. Then I did not divulge all these things, but I know how we get data in FSSAI, and on the basis of which actually we frame the policy and regulations. Food Safety and Standards Act 2006 is the act to consolidate the laws relating to food. Earlier, actually, we had 8 different acts, all of you know, and we have repealed all these acts. Now we have only FSS Act 2006. So, as per this act, FSSAI has been created for laying down science-based standards for articles of food. So, this FSSAI mandate of the FSSAI is to regulate manufacture, storage, distribution, sale, and import of food to ensure availability of safe and wholesome food for human consumption. Also, definition of food has been specified in our act also. Whatever we eat other than drugs and parenterals are considered as food. So, for regulating food products, FSSAI framed a number of regulations based on evidence-based scientific data. So, present topic will discuss about how FSSAI generate, collect, and analyze data from various sources for policy making, particularly preparing food safety regulations. Next slide. Yeah, risk analysis. Sorry. Previous one, please. Yeah, risk analysis. What to do? Risk analysis is a very important step to ensure the safety of food. And risk means actually the probability of an adverse effect on the health of consumers consequential to a food hazard. So this is the definition of risk. And food safety regulations are made on the basis of scientific data. When we started implementing food safety and standards regulation 2006 actually, the act is 2006, but rules and regulations are framed in 2011. So when we implemented this FSS Act in India on 5th August 2011, we had only 6 regulations in hand. Now we have as many as 29 regulations, and all these regulations have been prepared from the data collected from various sources, and the policy making that is preparing regulations are evidence-based. Risk analysis of the food product ingredients are based on scientific data. So how we collect this data? Risk analysis means a process consisting of three components. One is risk assessment, then risk management, and risk communication. Risk assessment, as defined in our FSS Act, means a scientifically based process consisting of the following steps. Number one, hazard identification. You have to identify the hazard, then hazard characterization, then exposure assessment, and number four is risk characterization. So these are the four steps of risk assessment. Next slide. Risk communication. Now, once you assess the risk, actually, you have to communicate the risk also. Risk communication means the interactive exchange of information and opinions throughout the risk analysis process. Risk related factors and risk perceptions are communicated among risk assessors, risk managers, consumers, industry, the academic community, and other interested parties. In fact, all stakeholders. So risk assessment findings and the basis of risk management decisions are also communicated among the stakeholders. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Risk management. So risk management means the process of evaluating policy alternatives in consultation with all interested parties, that means stakeholders. Basis of policy decision is risk assessment and other factors relevant for the protection of health of consumers. It is also done for promotion of fair trade practices, selecting appropriate prevention and control options. So this FSSI, how we get data. Now this collection of data by the FSSI, how we get data to frame the regulations and policy. FSSI has established scientific panels consisting of independent scientific experts. There are as many as 21 scientific panels as of today. When we started, actually, we had only 8 scientific panels, but as on today, we have as many as 21 scientific panels. And these scientific panels consist of eminent scientists and scientific experts mostly from CFTRI Mysore and NIN ICMR Hyderabad and other reputed organizations. Those scientific panels, they invite the relevant industry and consumer representatives in its deliberation and get a lot of data also. The scientific panel collects data from academic institutions and industry on the basis of which regulations are prepared and also policy is also framed. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, as per section 14 of the FSS Act 2006, FSSI constitutes scientific committee also. We have one scientific committee which consists of the chairpersons of all the 19 scientific panels and 6 independent scientific experts. So the scientific committee is above scientific panels. Whatever recommendations are received from scientific panels, these are forwarded to the scientific committee of the FSSI. So the scientific committee provides scientific opinions to the FSSI because the next stage of scientific committee is the food authority. So the scientific committee provides scientific opinions to the FSSI. The FSSI provides scientific advice and technical support to the central government and the state governments in matters of framing the policy. Okay. Next slide, please. FSSI also search, collect, collate, analyze, and summarize relevant scientific and technical data relating to number one, food consumption and the exposure of individuals to risk related to the consumption of food. Number two, incidence and prevalence of biological risk. Number three, contaminants in food. Number four, residues of various contaminants. Number five, identification of emerging risk. And 6 is the introduction of rapid alert system. Rapid alert system means actually if some incident happens, it is to be notified throughout the world, so that all the consumers and the regulatory authorities will take care of. So this alert system is there, and duties and functions of food authority has been elaborated in section 16 of the FSS Act 2006. One of the duties actually one of the duties is that the food authority may by regulations specify the manner in which the procedure subject in which and the procedure subject to which risk analysis, risk assessment, risk communication, and risk management are to be undertaken. So, so this is one of the duty of the food authority. India is a member of the Codex Alimentarius Commission, as already Shantanu Gupta ji said, and Codex Alimentarius Commission is a joint body, jointly set up by WHO and FAO. Through participating in Codex meeting, FSSAI also receives a lot of data because Codex FSSAI is now the Asian contact point of Codex, and they organize number of meetings, and they are the they actually recommend this scientific food product standards and other matters also related to food safety. So through participating in Codex meeting, FSSAI receive data, and the Codex meetings are convened all throughout the world, actually various parts of the world, and FSSAI regularly participate in these meetings. Next slide. Yeah, the food authority shall provide the main duty of the food authority that they shall provide scientific advice and technical support to the central government and the state governments in matters of framing the policy and the rules in areas which have a direct or indirect bearing on food safety and nutrition. The food authority shall promote, coordinate, and issue guidelines for the development of risk assessment methodologies and monitor and conduct and forward messages on the health and nutritional risk to the central and state governments. The food authority shall coordinate work on food standards undertaken by international governmental and non-governmental organizations. In doing this, FSSAI has the access of data. So these are the various ways how FSSAI collects data. Next slide, please. Risk analysis of proprietary food. This is very important thing because as per regulation 2.12.1, FSSAI Food Product Standards and Food Additives Regulations 2011, proprietary food means a food that has not been standardized under these regulations but not unsafe. So this is the definition of proprietary food as per our regulation. And as per section 22 of the FSSAI 2006, no person shall manufacture, distribute, sell, or import any proprietary foods which the central government may notify in this behalf. That means unless it is a proprietary food requires pre-approval from the FSSAI. Unless FSSAI notify or approves the product, it cannot be manufactured or distributed or sell or import in India. So proprietary food requires pre-approval from the FSSAI. FSSAI made regulations for approval of non-specified food and food ingredients 2017. Before that, when I was Director of Product Approval, I issued a number of advisories on product approval to streamline the process. But finally, actually, FSSAI made regulations for approval of non-specified food and food ingredients in 2017. So you have to follow this. Industry are following this. It has been done only to encourage scientific innovations and innovative products to be marketed in India. So and manufactured as well. So next slide. Next slide. Yeah, as per the regulation, this 2017 regulation, FBO shall submit application in form number 1 along with requisite fees of rupees 50,000 per product or ingredient and documents on risk assessment or toxicity studies along with other documents. So unless you submit this risk assessment or toxicity studies, it cannot be processed and allowed also. So this risk assessment shall include information on human studies, including dietary exposure, nutritional impact, and potential impact on the consumer, if any, number 1. Number 2, toxicological studies, including results of AMES test to test mutagenicity, and chromosomal aberration test, studies for reproductive toxicity, prenatal development toxicity studies, etc. And number 3 is allergenicity, both published or unpublished reports. So these are the reports are to be submitted to the FSSAI while submitting this application duly formed application of number 1, along with the fees. So a lot of data is collected from the FBOs during this process. Next slide. The FBOs have to submit data required for in case of probiotic food and prebiotic food, FBOs have to submit data required for microorganisms used as food, directly fed or used as a source of food ingredients. FBOs shall submit the following information in respect of microbes. Number 1, nature of microbe. Number 2, name of microbe. Number 3, source of microbe. Number 4, if locally isolated. Number 5, if deposited in the National Culture Collection Center. Number 6, if brought from National Culture Collection Center. If imported and privately isolated. So these are the data required to be submitted for application of probiotic and prebiotic proprietary foods. FSSAI collects huge data from the FBOs while granting product approval. Next slide, please. So USFDA also issue monographs to the ingredients. Microbes are generally recognized as safe GRAS status. They issue the GRAS status, and that has to be submitted by the FBOs while submitting application for product approval. And also WHO prepares reports on adverse effects in humans associated with food consumption. So that report, if any, has to be submitted. And Codex Alimentarius Commission also shares data while preparing standards for various food products. So during this process, actually, we also get lot of data in the FSSAI to frame policy and regulations. Next slide. Now the clinical studies. The clinical studies is mainly restricted to FSDU, FSMP, nutraceutical and health supplements having claims or a novel product. So normal food products do not require clinical studies to prove the safety and efficacy of the product. The food products do not require clinical studies to prove the safety and efficacy of the product. But as per Section 22 of the FSS Act 2006, foods for special dietary uses, FSDU, functional foods, nutraceuticals, health supplements comes under the purview of the FSS Act. The articles of food or formulation shall consist of a composition delivering the desired level of energy, protein, vitamins and minerals and other essential nutrients in accordance with the guidelines made by the ICMR, NIN ICMR. So this should be the composition of these products, these health supplements, functional foods, nutraceuticals. Next slide. So difference between these products and drugs is that these products means health supplements, nutraceuticals, and functional foods and FSDU and FSMP. And drugs is that these products are not intended to treat or cure any medical condition, disease or disorder. These are used only for the general well-being of this of human body. And the basic so these are not comes under the Drugs and Cosmetics Act 1942. So most of these products do not require clinical trials to prove the safety and efficacy of the product. But some of the products, particularly FSDU, FSMP, and nutraceuticals, require clinical trials on Indian population, particularly which have claims. Some products have claims. Nowadays, you can see a lot of bogus claims are coming, which should be stopped at any cost. Even one oil manufacturer, they advertised a few years back that if you consume this oil, diabetes will go. So one of the chairman of our scientific panel said that I am a diabetic for 20 years, and if my diabetes is cured by consuming this oil, I shall be ever grateful to you. It is absolutely bogus thing. So anyway, for claims, actually, you have to submit this clinical trials on Indian population. Though they have clinical trials on or trials on overseas populations, but for Indian populations, we need clinical trials. Next slide. So ICMR guidelines, we don't have any clinical trials guidelines in FSSAI. So we follow ICMR guidelines on clinical trials, particularly ethics committee approval of the ICMR. That is the first thing to be obtained by the MBOs who submit this clinical trials report. And once clinical trial is completed, clinical report shall be published in peer-reviewed journals. It shall be published in peer-reviewed journal, but not on their own journals or on any private journal which has no authenticity. So it must be authenticated by publishing in peer-reviewed journals. So a lot of data is generated during clinical trial of the products on Indian population, which we did not have earlier. So if, as I already said, that FSSAI has 21 scientific panel consisting of eminent scientists of the country, and they are also, most of them are associated with their organization. They also submit a lot of data. So on the basis of which policy is framed. Next slide. Next slide. So conclusion, since Shantanu ji wants me to conclude, I shall conclude it because I think we are running beyond time. And so conclusion, FSSAI is a science-based organism. And this year, this science in action. But science was always in action. So this year's theme is science in action, but science was always in action. That's why we have this FSSAI and all these regulations. So FSSAI is a science-based organization. It has as many as 21 scientific panels and the scientific committee consisting of eminent scientists of the country. And they also supply a lot of data to us. Policy, particularly regulations, are framed on the basis of their recommendations. FSSAI is also Asian contact point of the Codex Alimentarius Commission and regularly attend Codex meetings all over the world. So data collected from these meetings also help FSSAI to frame various regulations. So this is how FSSAI collects data and frame regulations and policy. So with this, I conclude my speech. Thank you. Thank you all.
Shantanu ji, you're muted. You're muted.
So thank you, sir. Thank you for being time and such a beautiful presentation. And the very key point I would say is the risk-based approach. Usually we speak of the risk-based approach whenever we design the policy. And another beautiful thing is that it is a collective approach. We started from the scientific panels, scientific committees, even we approached the FBOs as far as data is concerned in the food product approval. And in addition to that, we also include ICMR to evaluate that data for the clinical trials. And the other, look, this is a very beautiful, sir, how you have take up the session, starting from the risk-based approach to the collective effort from all the segments so that we could design policy in a much more productive manner. नहीं तो सर वो कहते हैं हिंदी में कि चिराग तले अंधेरा. So if we speak of on the one side, whatever the knowledge we have, if we don't have the collective efforts, so we should have the black holes or something, dark circles around us. Thank you again, sir, session. Thank you again, sir, for this beautiful session. Now next, I request Ritu madam to take his call. And about Ritu madam, she is very much expert in the certification, have a global exposure to more than 50 countries, and regarding the standards and how the science in the standards will assure us that following that standard, we could achieve the food safety. So this is what we are going to understand from Ritu madam in this next particular title, and about the various related standards, that is ISO 22000, FSSAI 22000, that are related to the food safety. So I welcome Ritu Bajaj madam for the next session.
Thank
Please,
you,
madam.
Shantanu ji, for the introduction. Thank you. I'll try to share my screen. I hope the technology does not fail me. Let me give it a try. Is it visible?
Opening.
Opening. Okay. I
Yeah,
think now,
clear.
yeah.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, brilliant. Fine. So I would start my presentation with the thank you note. It's a privilege to be here with you, all of you today on the World Food Safety Day. And I am myself Ritu Bajaj. Shantanu has given a elaborated introduction already, but I'm today representing BRCGS, an organization committed to setting global benchmarks for food safety, quality, and assurance. This year's theme, standards, this year's topic, in fact, the standard and certification, scientific integrity in assurance, aligns very closely with what work we do at BRCGS. In the world where consumers' trust hinges on transparency and credibility, assurance must be more than a checklist. It must be grounded in science, delivered with integrity, and built to protect brands and consumers alike. Today, I'm going to share you how BRCGS builds this trust, not just through world-class standards, but how through a robust certification integrity program that ensures assurance is meaningful, monitored, and maintained. Our heritage began in British retail with the first version of the food standard published in 1998, but we have evolved over the last 28 years with 10 active standards currently in our portfolio. 4 of these standards are GFSI, which is the Global Food Safety Initiative benchmarked, and these are food safety standard, packaging material standard, storage and distribution, and agents and brokers. Our recent addition to the standard is ethical trade and responsible sourcing standard, which is again a SSCI benchmarked standard. Let me begin with giving you a quick look on how BRCGS has evolved over the last 28 years from its roots in 1996. Each milestone has not only been responded to market needs, but has strengthened our scientific and technical foundation. So you can see the standard, which was first started with British Retail Consortium, BRC, and then in 2016, there is a company called LGC which took over, and our brand from BRC becomes BRCGS. And since then, we have been introducing new standards, and the first issue of the food standard was launched in 1998, and now currently we are at the food issue 9 standard. And similarly, the other standards of packaging, storage, and distribution have also evolved, and they are in different issues currently. A little bit on facts and figures. We have 10 core schemes, and we work with nearly 80 certification bodies with 2,500 auditors across all schemes, with 35,000 plus certificated sites across globe operating in 135 countries. This is interesting to note that over 230,000 non-compliances were raised only in this year, and all these have to be closed before a certificate is released. And BRCGS, it is noted that BRCGS audits impacts the safety and quality of the food produced globally, because although we have 10 different standards, but food continues to be the biggest standard till date, with more than 24,000 sites certificated. So it is estimated that the standards are relevant to the product sales worth approximately $800 billion. So BRCGS does not operate in isolation. Our standards are shaped and refined through collaboration with various stakeholders across the supply chain. So you can see on the screen, there are international advisory boards, there are certification body co-op groups, and technical advisory committees, which give feedback to to BRCGS whenever there is a new issue launched. So and even the consumers are there is a consultation period when the standard is launched, even pre-launch. So what is it required and all those things. So it's not just BRCGS deciding on what is going to be on the new issue, but it's a collective effort of different experts in the field. To ensure brand reputation through compliance, which our BRCGS stands for now, so we have built a 5-layered approach, comprehensive system that audits the auditors, grades the certification bodies, tracks auditors' performance, enables whistleblowing, and uses data to identify risks. So so this is the 5-layer of compliance or the integrity which we use. So first is TEL BRCGS system, which is a confidential reporting system which we use to collect feedback from sites. We have a Horizon, a digital analytic tool for site benchmarking and managing performance. There are certification integrity audits, which I'll be going through a little bit of more detail in my next slide. Delivery partner performance, which is again the KPI rating for as we discussed, there are 80 certification bodies working with us, so all their performance are rated through KPIs. Auditor compliance based on qualification, training, experience, and exams. This is how the first page of the confidential reporting system looks like, and this system was started introduced in 2020, with more than 1,300 cases reported till date from 64 countries. And this system allows to provide feedback in different languages and even in audio messages, or even the pictures can be sent through the system, and it's a very secure. The person who's providing the feedback can open up a secure inbox and can be in connect with us. This information is always there. The ScanMe QR code is always there on each certificate which the certification body is issuing. So people can reach us through this QR code as well. So integrity visits, which are we were talking about, these are not necessarily a re-audit of the site. So these are taken, these are one-day unannounced visits, which are undertaken by the compliance or the integrity auditors. So in the team, we have nearly 17 auditors based in different parts of the world. So how do we decide on which site to visit? So this is based on a comprehensive risk assessment, which you can see on the screen. So there are 3 major pillars. So one is certification bodies, the auditors, the sites. So different factors are considered before we decide on which site to go in and which not. So depending on the certification body, where it is based and where it is operating, how many global partners this certification body has, and all those parameters are considered. Auditors who are, as it's completely scientific approach or the risk-based approach. So all this data is collected from the directory which BRCGS has. So auditors with low number of NCs or NCs outside the trend, or auditors linked with multiple CBs. So they are particularly picked up during these visits. The sites where it is based, the location, the geography, whether there have been repeated product recalls or the complaints, the sites which are moving around different certification body on a year-on-year basis, or consecutive audits by the same auditor. So all these aspects are definitely considered while picking up a site. A little bit more on integrity visit, or which we 2 years down the line we used to call compliance visits. And this is a 1-day duration visit which an auditor goes to the site, and 99% of the cases these are unannounced, and the certification body is invited to join the integrity auditor, and they follow the same protocol as a normal audit, opening meeting, facility tour, etc., interviews with people. And basically, the auditor is trying to assess whether the auditor has done a robust job. And the second parameter which they are assessing is whether the site continues to maintain the grade which they were offered by the certification body. So that's highlighting shortfall in the audit process by the certification body or shortfall in the site maintaining the site BRCGS standards. This slide particularly shows how many visits we have done in 2022 to 2024. So you can see there are nearly 480 sites visited in last 3 years, which is kind of in 48 countries as well. So the graph represents the split between visits organized as a result of complaint and the ones selected through our risk assessment. So you can see in the orange bar is kind of is a complaint visit, and unfortunately the number there are huge number of visits in the countries like UK, India, Turkey, and the orange bar typically represents the reason is a complaint. So there are issues which are there, and therefore it's kind of a key area for it's already assessed in the risk assessment as well. Around 27 to 30% of the visits are related to the complaints, and as you can see, the topmost countries are UK, India, Turkey, and we are quite active in China as well, as this is the region of growth of our standards. So I just said in last 3 years, we have done 480 visits and in 48 countries, 1400 plus reports were reviewed as a part of KPI assessment, and 500 complaints investigated, and 154 CB service appeals were dealt with, and so and 4,200 product recall incidents were investigated. Another parameter of the outcome of BRCGS investigations, like we were talking about the sites visited, so they are definitely affect the CB performance. So BRCGS has 21 areas of assessment which feed into these three categories in all. One is the audit performance, the second is the protocol, and the third is the service delivery. The assessment is completed in 6-month cycle. At the end of this KPI cycle, the certification star rating is decided. The information about the outcome of BRC is publicly available on the directory, BRCGS directory. As you can see, this is more than just an oversight. It is scientifically driven, data-informed strategy to uphold trust at every level of certification. So this is how the certification bodies are rated. So if 5 stars is excellent, 4 stars is good, and if the CB gets the 3 stars, the service improvement request, service improvement is required, where BRCGS also works with the CB to improve their services. So for the lower scores, special measures are put in place, and from additional checks and reviews, so certification body to suspension or removal of BRCGS approval to deliver audits against our standard. So this is BRCGS value proposition, which talks about global recognition, which is, as I told, 4 of our standards are GFSI benchmarked, and one of the standard is SSCI benchmark, covered by international accreditations. Certification, this is customer-led. BRCGS responds to market needs and create quality ecosystem. Value-added services, apart from delivering the standard, we also have other services such as training, and all the sites have an option to train their people for as a BRCGS professional. So this is all included in the value-added services. And as we have already discussed about the 5-layer of compliance, certification, integrity. As we conclude, in a country, India is already it's known for the rich culinary traditions, diverse agriculture, and vibrant food industry. The stakes of food safety are very high, and so is the opportunity. With the growing consumer base and expanding exports, rising expectations of quality, India is a critical juncture where science, regulation, and trust must work hand in hand. And on this World Food Safety Day, we commit in ensuring that every bite, whether served on plate in Delhi or shipped to shelf in Europe, is safe, trusted, and verified with integrity. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I look forward if there are any questions.
Any questions, participants, please, for this very well articulated presentation, madam, or BRCGS, the timeline,
Thank you.
the way you have the journey, the BRC just covered in last 28 years regarding the standard upgradation and horizontally and vertically also. And you have very well articulated that it should be more than the checklist actually.
Yeah.
Most of the time we just pick up the standard, I prepare the checklist, what I have to be there and as an auditor. And this is somewhere we are lacking behind what is being required in that standard. So, and from, we will take the questions in the last, madam. The only
Sure.
thing which I feel is a kind of complaints in Indian scenario, but we could take it in the last, right?
Of course.
So yes, please. Thanks a lot again.
Thank you.
Welcome. May I request our next distinguished speaker, Professor Praveen Kumar Sapati ji. He is currently working as an assistant professor in the Department of Agriculture and Food Engineering, IIT Kharagpur, and is a PhD in food science. Conducted DTLI, I don't know the full form, in the Denmark and the Chalmers University. His research is focused on the food engineering, analytical chemistry, and computational modeling. I think that's a very interesting and fruitful if it is being done effectively. So he is proficient in CUM, SQL, I don't know, MATLAB, chromatography, spectroscopy, rheology, and in vitro digestion analysis. So this is one of the important factors when we do go for the fortification itself. So over to you, sir. You have a very teaching passion also. So let us understand how the adulteration is traceability and detection will be helpful in safe and smart ways of safe food. Over to you, sir. Professor Praveen Kumar Sapati.
Thank you, Shantanu ji. Thank you very much. Hopefully I'm audible.
Yeah,
Very well,
very
sir.
much.
All right, I'm going to share my screen.
Yeah.
I hope it's visible.
Yeah, visible, clear.
All right. So I would like to thank you, the organizers. This is my first time meeting you guys. Okay, my name is Professor Praveen. I did my BTech and MTech from IIT Kharagpur itself, and then I did my PhD, which already Mr. Shantanu has already mentioned. So today I'm here to talk on this topic about food safety from the academia perspective. Okay, so right now, as more than a scientist, I would talk as a consumer because everyone in this meeting is a consumer themselves. Okay, so how as a scientist I wanted to pursue this field. Okay, because everybody is trying to have a good nutritious diet, but at the same time they want to be more sure where their food is coming from. All right, so by today's presentation I would try to explain some of the scientific things which we are trying to do, and how that can be helpful for the consumers to test their food on their own and be sure that the food is safe. Okay. I mean, yes, FSSAI and other certification institutes are there, which definitely certify, but consumers themselves want to be sure. So industry is currently, some of the industries are actually working in that direction, where they are sharing more and more data about how the food is collected, how it is processed, and how it is being shared with the consumer. Okay, so by sharing the data, they are trying to become more transparent and trying to gain the trust of the consumer. Okay, so this is the direction in which I have seen when I was studying in US, also doing my research work in Europe, that people are trying to go towards more than in that direction. So this is my agenda. Everybody knows about the problem of food adulteration and how some modern technologies are transforming food safety. Okay. And I will also share some of the examples from the industry and academia, how they have collaborated and come up with some innovative solutions. So, and finally, there will be always challenges and opportunities, and how we can tackle them. So food adulteration is a global problem. Whatever we are consuming, how sure we are actually about that my food is not adulterated? I mean, certifications, everything. As a common consumer, just think about it. How many people really do understand the ingredients which is listed at the back of the label? I'm sure many people don't even care about it, what ingredients are there. So as a common consumer, how can I be sure that my food is safe? By doing some basic simple tests or something like that. Okay, so, and that where also, I mean, traditional science always relied on where they tested using some physical properties or maybe chemical properties. Okay, and then they try to find some microbes maybe. Okay, for instance, or maybe some kind of chemical compounds. Our latest compound, which right now is everybody is talking about, is PFOS, right? So, I mean, new and new adulterants are being found, and then the science will also evolve around that, how we can be one step ahead in actually identifying those adulterants. So, uh, right now we are in the area of food safety 4.0. So I will talk about that in later. So before that, let's do a quiz. Okay. I mean, we all know that how food adulteration affects us, but what is the maximum punishment of food adulteration in the countries like US, Europe, and India? So, I mean, I generally do this for my students, but this is a more um, informal presentation. So I would just give the answer. It is up to maximum life imprisonment or very high fines. Okay. Even if you kill people, then because of food adulteration, I think it is a slow poison. Okay, so you are not directly going and killing the people, but eventually you are technically kind of, it's kind of a slow poison. Okay, so still the maximum is life imprisonment, even in a country where capital punishment is possible. So how as a common consumer, FSSI is doing a great job. I would say that they are actually introducing consumers with the rapid detection kits, where they have developed simple tests, which I already mentioned, based on physical, chemical, and microbial testing. These tests are very quick for screening that whether the food is being adulterated or not. So initially, the food safety evolved, and right now we are in the 4.0 version. Initially, the food safety started with the basic hygiene and visual inspection, which our mothers also do in our kitchen. So, and then we moved forward to more HACCP and process controls, where we are trying to analyze where are our critical points and where might I can introduce a hazard. So right now we are working mostly towards the smart science and data-driven system, because as I mentioned earlier, that the industry is moving towards sharing more data, like how the food is being produced and how it is being transferred to the consumers. Okay, so for that they need real-time sensors, use of artificial intelligence and blockchain technology for tracing it where it is actually coming from. This will help in analysis of the risk which are involved. And also, once let's assume that accidents are prone to happen, right? I mean, most of the times we try to control things, but some things sometimes just things goes up out of your hand. So in that case, how you are tracing your system back? Okay, so that is also a very important thing. So because of this, as we are moving towards more data-driven environment or a community, so that's why we need modern technology, so that who will gonna analyze those data and how we gonna collect that data. So data will be collected by the sensors, and then you can train some machine learning algorithm, and based on that you can train some robot or some kind of artificial intelligence. So how this modern science is contributing towards food safety? So collecting data, we need advanced sensors. So these sensors can be placed on the packaging itself, where they can detect all the contaminants, possibly heavy metal, pesticides, or maybe microbial contamination. Okay. And then this data will be fed to the artificial intelligence. All right. So once that data is fed to the artificial intelligence, it will analyze all the contaminants and probably try to, maybe come up with some solution. Maybe let's assume that I'm taking a picture from my phone, and the image or the color is changed over a period of time because of food spoilage or maybe some addition of food adulterant. And then how I can quickly convert that image to amount of detection of contaminants, or maybe the heavy metals, maybe the pesticides, or maybe some kind of food colorant. So there was an interesting case, because India is a very big exporter of chili. So the red chili is exported to EU and USA. Okay. So, but to make our product look better, people started adding adulterant. Okay. Uh, and then when we ship this container, or in the ship, then when it reached to the shore of Europe or US, they tested it, right? Everybody, they have a very stringent testing units. Uh, Food and Drug Administration is there in US, and EFSA is there in Europe, which is European Food Safety Agency. So these two are very stringent about their standards, right? So at that time, what happened is, in India, we didn't have the capacity to measure that adulterant in PPT level. PPT means parts per trillion. At that time, we only had the capacity to measure at parts per billion level. Okay. So what they did is they measured it at the parts per trillion level, and then they said that uh, the adulterant was already there. Okay. But Indian agencies were like, no, the adulterant is not there, because they measured it at the parts per billion level. Okay. So this back and forth things happened, and because of the science, India has also ordered very latest equipment at that time to measure at parts per trillion level. Current technology is blockchain, which probably you have heard about, cryptocurrency, right? Bitcoins and Ethereum, those kind of thing. I mean, Indian government has banned it, but the technology behind is actually being used to trace where my food is coming from. So I will go on that example as well. And finally, DNA-based methods, which we already everybody has suffered during the COVID period, where based on the DNA, we are trying to do the PCR test. And then based on that, we are trying to find out whether we have COVID or not. Okay. So the same thing can be used for finding adulteration, specifically in the case of meat, because if you combine meat from 3 or 4 different sources, how you want to tell like where it is came from and which animal it actually has. So even that kind of thing can be doable on the DNA based methods. So the science of advanced gas sensors and spectroscopy. Uh, so what we have is, we have food. I mean, we can have adulterant, or maybe the food generally goes bad. So what it will do, it will emit some volatile gases, maybe carbon dioxide, maybe oxygen, maybe ammonia. Okay, so we will have a sensor which can absorb these gases and probably tell. I mean, the basic functioning is they will conduct an electrical signal, and that electrical signal will be converted to the concentration. Okay. So that in that way, we can actually embed a sensor on a packaging material. And maybe this is expensive. So we can have an alternative for just for the regular consumers, is that We can have some kind of colorimetric indicator. So we will have some kind of dye which is on the packaging material. This carbon dioxide go and react with it and changes the color of this indicator. So to use this kind of thing, Tetra Pak and Lund University in Sweden, which has collaborated. So they have developed a film which they place it on the top of the Tetra Pak bottles, and the color will change accordingly, because this color will change because they have anthocyanin. Anthocyanin is generally a pigment which changes its color depending on the pH. Okay, and then it's generally mostly extracted from vegetables or flowers. So it is a naturally sourced pigment, and it changes color depending on the pH. So as the milk gets fermented, its pH will decrease because of the lactic acid. So the fresh milk starting from here, and now you can see the color change over the period of time. Another type of sensors which are commonly being used is RFID sensors based on the dielectric property change when the gas attaches to the medium. There can be a sensor which can sense it from outside of this packaging film based on the magnetic field interaction between these two coils. So next example is artificial intelligence in food safety. So we can measure technically the physical properties or the chemical properties of the food. Now this data needs to be trained by some kind of machine learning algorithm. Okay, once the data is being trained, then the machine learning algorithm will give certain kind of output or instruction, or maybe in our case, the level of safety of our food. Okay, maybe it will tell you how much contamination is there, how much adulteration is there, how much spoilage has happened over the period of time. Okay. But this is more towards in the area of food safety 4.0. As already mentioned, using sensors, you are trying to collect the data, and then you are training the machine learning algorithm, okay, or the artificial intelligence. So Mars and IBM has collaborated in this direction. They have developed a food safety knowledge base which uses AI to actually predict contamination risk. So Mars is a chocolate company which is based in the US. So they outsource their ingredient lot of from, African nations. So they wanted to be sure that whatever they are introducing in the soil is not containing any kind of contaminant, especially the microbial type. So what they did is they analyzed hundreds of ingredients, and whatever they have, they collected up millions of genes of all the ingredients and also of their organisms. Okay. So they collected this data, they trained this data using AI, and then they based on if let's assume that I found some kind of collaboration or collaborative genes together, and then you can actually predict what kind of adulterant or microbial source it came from. Okay. So blockchain technology moving forward, the science is very simple. So it tries to connect all the, I apologize for this spelling mistake, but the objective of this is to combine all the stakeholders which are involved in food supply chain. For instance, in this case, seed seller, distributor. This is an example for agricultural, but this can be also applied to more food science or food industry as well. Okay. So where you are trying to interact or make a smart contract, okay, between all the stakeholders. For instance, one can interact with 7, one can interact with 8, one can interact with 2, and so on and so on. Okay. So the idea is basically, let's assume I started a transaction where the seed seller wants to sell his farm. He collected the seeds from the farmer, and then he needs to give it to the distributor. Before distributor, he will probably try to analyze some properties. Okay. And then one has started a block. Okay. So after one, only when the block reaches to the 6th, then only he can start a block. Okay. And each blocks, whenever it is being transacted, will contain some data, maybe the seed quality, maybe at what time the distributor have received the seed, that kind of data being stored in that block. Okay, so the beauty of this blockchain is it cannot be tampered. Let's assume at certain period in future, the one needs to change some data. Maybe he's caught, or maybe he wants to tamper the data. So let's assume he goes back to his block which he has originally generated. But in order to change that block, he needs the permission of all the rest of the members, which are all the stakeholders. So that's why this kind of system is not temperable. That's why they also call it cannot be broken. Okay, so that's why most of the cryptocurrency works on this blockchain technology. And how IBM and Walmart have collaborated again is, let's assume by Lettuce. Lettuce probably everybody knows. So when I was in the eastern part of US, so lettuce used to come from California. Okay, that is on the west coast. So from west coast to east coast, how the lettuce is coming from, and like how many people are involved. So they're kind of tracking this, because there was a contamination case of lettuce in Maine, where they have found E. coli, and they were not able to trace back where it came from. So because of this technology, instead of like probably taking like 21 days to trace back, probably you will take 7 or 8 seconds to do in from which farm it actually came from. So this has build a lot of consumer confidence, because they can technically scan the barcode which is at the back of, and then they can actually know where their food is coming from. Moving forward to the science-based DNA-based testing in food safety. So it uses PCR, which is polymerase chain reaction. We have seen this reaction being used during our COVID times to identify the COVID virus. And when, let's assume that you were swabbing the mouth, right? At that time, any virus or bacteria will be living in our saliva. So that, how to identify that specifically, that COVID virus is the only thing which is there, okay, among so many bacteria and viruses. So the beauty of this reaction is you can actually identify one organism based on that DNA. Okay, so you try to multiply the DNA, and based on the multiplication, eventually you will find out that there is a lot of DNA of COVID in that one. Okay, and then you test it. So how we are using this technology? So we can use it for our dairy products. I given an example of meat, because dairy products also can come from multiple sources. They can be adulterated, and it's actually cheating with consumers if you are saying that it is a cow milk and then you are selling a buffalo milk. So a small country like Philippines also collaborate with industries like biotech, UPLB. So they develop these kits where you can identify the different source of animals, or in this case, it is microorganisms, which is E. coli and Salmonella. Generally, this microbial test take 3 to 5 days, because you have an agar plate where you incubate all your microbes and you let it grow, and it generally takes that 3 to 5 days to grow. But with this kit, you can technically tell the results, because PCR generally takes 1 day. The next day you can get if there is any foodborne pathogens. So what I have seen and what I complained generally is there is a lot of industry academia collaboration in outside of India, especially in US and Europe. Most of the research is driven by the industry funding, which is unfortunate in India, where most of the research is being driven by the government itself. Okay, so the what I've seen is the difference in the thinking as well, where the industry generally thinks a very conservative way in India, that why should we invest or do some kind of innovative things? If I'm investing money, then I should get X amount back. So that kind of attitude is actually what I found, especially over here. But when you pitch an idea to US companies or US industry, they will always be like, okay, let's I'll give you a $5,000, you show me a proof of concept that it works, then I will try to spend more money. So at least, and that way the innovation generally happens. And also people
Sir, you are get muted, sir.
And my apologies. Apologies. Can you please unmute yourself, Praveen ji? Mr. Praveen? Unmute yourself.
Praveen,
Oh,
please.
Can you please unmute yourself? There was a mistake.
Oh, I talked a lot.
No, not at all. The last part actually we missed because can you please unmute? Because what happened by mistake, I pressed it. My sincere apologies. Just the last part alone.
Just the last
two
part, right?
slides.
Not the
Last,
whole
last,
thing.
yes, last.
Hopefully.
No, just the last two slides. It
You
was
just
by
gave me a heart
error.
attack right now.
No, only the last one slide.
All right,
I
all
guess.
right,
One
all right,
slide.
all right, all right.
My sincere apologies again. By
No worries,
mistake,
no
I did
worries,
it.
no worries. Hopefully I'm audible now.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
this is
please.
clear. Yes. I guess
Yes.
this is the slide, right? Shantanu ji,
Yes,
the
this-
slide
yeah,
or
yeah,
previous
yes.
slide? The slide. Right. Perfect.
Okay, so what I was is basically I was ranting. Thank God it got muted probably for a good reason because I was ranting about how bad our industry and academia collaboration is in India. I mean, when I was studying and doing research in US and Europe, the people over there are very more open. They wanted to test out new ideas. They wanted to innovate things, which I think is lacking here. Okay, so let's assume that people over here are more conservative. I think they want to adapt a technology which has already been proven and tested in the West, and then we try to adapt it, which is kind of quite late. So we, by that kind of attitude, will never be innovators. So people want to innovate. So let's assume that if I have a problem and I see that, and I approach an industry in US, they'll probably give me like $2,000, $3,000 grant, and then it's not much, but they will tell you to like test it out the idea. Why not test it out? Because of testing only you will know whether that idea works or not. So if that idea works, then they get some kind of exciting results. They probably try to expand that kind of knowledge more into kind of a commercial product. So that way the innovation happens. So what I would suggest is like in India also we kind of have a lot of industry and academia collaboration and have trust in the academic people who are working day and night trying to do modern science and make people safe. So that's how I want to conclude, and thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to talk in this forum.
Thank you,
This is
sir.
my-
Thank you very much. Thank you
This
very
is my contact details. If anybody has any questions, please let me know. I have a train to catch at 5 p.m. So
That's very nice, sir. And to all the participants, please, if you have any questions, you can raise in the message box, and we will take all the questions at the end of the session. We are two speakers more to put the light on that. And to sir, your session, which is very well articulated within your title, that is Smart Science, Safe Food, and Adulteration, checking adulteration to the technology. And you have very well articulated the techniques which are being there to detect the adulteration. Now, the biggest challenge which you have mentioned also is that the conservation is sharing the data and other things as well. So until and unless we are fair in sharing the data, we couldn't achieve that transparency or the requirement. So data sharing, that too in a very transparent manner, is a key role for the success of this food safety technology, or what I would say. If AI is also there and data is not in line with that, we are still lacking something in that area actually. So with this, I request our next speaker, Dr. Lal Hingorani sir, and he is a distinguished scientist, entrepreneur, and thought leader in the field of herbal and botanical sciences. Sir is a PhD holder from IIT Mumbai and serves as a director of Farmanza Herbal Private Limited. Sir has chaired the council of one of the council of Ministry of Commerce. He is a member of one board of Ministry of Ayush, and his global perspective is reflected in his role, that is member of advisory board of American Botanical Council of US, and is a member in the research council of IIM Jammu and CMIR Lucknow also. So with this very excellence academic and regulatory insights, let us have the sir's idea and views on the title. That is, sir, it is that focus on food business operators applying science for operational excellence from HACCP to digital twins. So, with sir, we'll like to understand what is the operational excellence and how it could be implemented. Over to you, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome, Dr. Hingolal Ramoji. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm little odd man out here. You are all are experts in the quality systems and all these things, as well as some professor like just our earlier speaker was talking about a lot of technologies in the detection and all these things of the adulterations and all these things. We also do some work, but our work is a little different than this. Because today it's a World Food Safety Day, and yeah, these things, whatever I have written already, our earlier speakers have spoken, so I'll not take it again. I'll just give you, because my whatever I have put in my these slides, probably you all know much better than me. I'll give you an experience of ours. I started my career with APIs in the pharma industry, and then I started this what I call is a botanical extraction facility. 27 years back, there was nothing. FSSAI was not existing. We were getting only Aish license here, and we were selling in the US market, mainly US and Europe, Japan a bit. So in that market, we were selling as a nutraceuticals. From here, it was going under the FDA license. Those days, there was no even regulations much in USA also. Nobody was knowing what is required. Like there were probably 10 industries from India who were exporting at that time. And we started exporting. One of the earliest product was Garcinia cambogia, which is a kokum in India. Its extract was very, very popular for obesity in USA. And we got an order. There was no specifications from them. Just they said, we want hydroxycitric acid 50%. Methods were very, very, not existing at all for analysis also. And it was like we were analyzing, it was a calcium salt, and we were analyzing calcium, and on that basis, we were saying it is 50%. And that's what the customer wanted. Microbiology was nothing asked for. We exported 3 consignments. And after that, the person asked, are you doing microbiology? I said, no, you're not asked for it. And then we did it, and it was too high to count. In those days, started finding out how to take care of that. And there was ethylene oxide facility near the airport in Bombay. And we were doing it, ethylene oxide working. And I used to find out from them, because being from a scientific background, whether ethylene oxide remains in the product. And the manufacturer there, who was actually treatment guy who was doing ethylene oxide, he says, we are applying vacuum inside after the treatment and it goes out. Recently, you must have seen that a lot of problem has come because of the ethylene oxide in the European side. We stopped that ethylene oxide almost 25 years back, because one of the customers said ethylene oxide is not allowed. So we stopped, and once we do something, we do it for everyone. It's not that the one customer has asked, so we should continue using that ethylene oxide for other people. It's not like that. Recently, you must have seen this, our herbs, mainly spices, which are being treated with ethylene oxide. They got rejected. They almost 10 complaints came from the Europe. Okay, control it, nobody controlled it. And then finally they put in a ban for some time, and then they came out with the laboratories. Right now we are sending, if we have to send anything to Europe, we have to send our sample, which is collected by a laboratory, which is approved by the EU, and they take the sample, then they analyze it for ETO, and then it goes there. Still, they are, when the product goes to their shores, still they are taking about sampling from 20% initially. Now they have done 10% sampling. And if your product is little hygroscopic, the way they do sampling there, the product goes waste in that if they do the sampling at the customs. So this is created by the industry. Like an industry did not hear what is happening in the world and what they want. Next is going to be our this one, apna, gamma treatment. Now, gamma treatment is allowed in the food, and if your mangoes are going, they will do that treatment. But it is not allowed in nutraceuticals. Question is there with the FDA, but they are not answering. But it is not allowed, and we give a declaration that it is not treated with gamma radiation. The people again think that gamma radiation is what? It's a radiation. It'll go through the product and nothing will remain there. So how do they analyze whether it is a gamma radiation? And I tried to find it out, whether they will be able to find it out. And there's a laboratory which is doing, as you were saying about DNA and all these things. They do the DNA testing of the dead bacteria in your product. And from that, they find out whether you have treated with gamma radiation or not. So as the technology is also changing for analysis, as well as people are also finding out the ways and means for adulteration or this thing. There are two types of adulteration. One is without your knowledge, and second is you do it for the commercial purpose. Another this thing example of the adulteration is our ashwagandha. First product which came into the limelight in the US was curcumin, turmeric. That became #1 product in nutraceuticals in the world. Now, next product which has come from India is ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is doing very well, and people started mixing these other parts of it's actually root extract. They started putting leaves and all these things. There are people who are doing by informing that they are doing an extract of leaf plus root. There are people who are doing only they write roots, but they add the leaf. So they came up with USP came up with certain markers which are there only in the leaf. But now people know how to remove those markers also. They do a treatment to the leaves to remove those markers. So this goes on and you cannot stop it. That's why the regulators have to be smarter than the persons who are doing the adulteration. There are agencies, and a lot of you are from these agencies who are giving certifications and all these things. But that is how much time you spend in the industry where you go for inspections and all these things. Few days, they are ready for that. I just heard from Ritu that they do a inspection without informing the industry, so which is good. The FDA is US FDA started that. Now they said they'll come without giving any information to you. When I was speaking to the commissioner that you have not visited my factory once also, and I'm doing business for 27 years almost. So he said, we are sampling your products when they come to the USA. Up till now, it has not failed. The day it fails, will be there on your gate the next day. So they have shot people are not there, this thing, US FDA. But they are doing this. In case somebody is caught or something, then they inspect it. This is my company, Famanja Herbal Private Limited. We were the second company in India. I think some power problem is. You are able to hear me?
Oh, it is
Lost
okay,
your
sir.
voice in between. Just yeah, now it is clear.
Okay. So we have gone for a lot of certifications, you name it, and we have certifications, but that certification also, I feel, does not matter much. And the management which is there, they should be very clear that what they are looking at, and whether they are looking for the, mm, you're, you are very clear you don't want to add anything intentionally, and you don't want to do it. For that, now, slowly, for the safety reasons, we go from the, as they are, you're talking about farm to the fork. We do all that thing where the cultivation is occurring from seeds onwards. We check it up. Main products mainly, because whatever our main products that we do, see to it that from where they are coming, and we check up those farmers also regularly from where we are getting. We train them. Even from the forest, from when we are collecting, we and go to the this with the forest department, we go to the tribal and tell them how to collect it and how to transport it to us. So all these things are very important. And science-driven approach to food safety has happened, all these things you all know. Then digital innovation, digital twins, which is more of a virtual replicas of the processing unit. Slowly, AI is coming in. So we are doing a lot of work where we can find out. As yet, the what our earlier speaker was talking about, the scientific thing like an IT and this one, that is not coming to the natural products. And as you were saying, that industry is not coming forward to the institutions. I feel the other way. I was almost for 2 years, I was a vice chairman, and later I was 2 years chairman of the Chef Excel, which is a export council of botanicals from India. And in that, I was finding out that people were approaching so many institutions, and they were not getting very reliable people, or they were not getting any answers from them. So it is, when I'll give you my experience, I'm working with CDRI, CMAP, and Triple M. I have licensed out certain technologies also. It took me first time almost 6 years to talk to the people. Like nobody was talking there. So it was very difficult in those days to get to this one. Almost 4 directors changed in CDRI when I got the first meeting with them. So now it must have changed a lot, because now the people know me, so they meet me, but other industry must be also facing same problems. So together working is little difficult, and people don't believe in it in India mostly. So that is a big problem. On the side of the clinical trials, because I'm just taking this topic because our first speaker was from FSSI. He talked about clinical trials. Clinical trials is changing a lot now. Oh, can a perspective of I'm talking about the US FDA and all these things. They say that if you are doing a clinical trials on a disease model, they are not nutraceuticals. So they are saying do a clinical trial on a healthy professionals and healthy people. So that thing is changing almost. We have started moving from disease model to the where we just check how's their health conditions, how are the markers in them, the inflammatory markers, cardiac markers, how they are changing, and how's their general health changing by taking this. And that way, the thing is changing now. Now, people are, they know, okay, these are the nutraceuticals. If they don't have any clinical trials of the drug, they'll not claim it. And they will not be able to claim it also, because they have not done any work on that. But still in India, clinical trials are being done on the disease model. So we see a lot of advertisements and all these things. A lot of problems are occurring with the Ayush products also, where people are advertising like probably they are selling like peanuts. That way they are selling these nutraceuticals on the TV. So, and claiming that it is curing or something like that, certain disease and all these things. So that has to come to an end, which is started recently, and people are finding it a little difficult, but it will come like in a one day, because as we saw that FSSI and all these things came into existence, it took little time, but today it is well in command and doing quite good job. This is like how this thing principles are there, or just HACCP. What happened? Oh, sorry.
I think screen sharing
Yeah,
stopped.
yeah. Now it is there.
No, we can't see the screen. Maybe you may
But-
have to reshare it again.
Sure. Just a minute. Yeah, it's there.
Yes, we can see this. Yeah.
So HACCP principles, you all know, I'll not take you along on this. And this was a one thing which became very good, like in a CCP and all this thing controls. Generally, people were not using in India because, as I told you, that I've been with a lot of industries, working with them during my tenure as a chairman. So these things are not existing in so many industries, but yes, they are slowly picking it up on this, and it will take still time for them to cover up all this thing. GACP compliant sourcing of approved farm collectors. This is still lacking in major industries, but bigger industries who are in exports, they are doing it very well. We also started this almost 7 to 8 years back, and now we are doing quite a bit, I said, of compliant work and traceability, which has become very important for the, because mainly our Indian business is from B2B. So we are exporting mainly our extracts outside. So the main thing is this traceability is mainly they take it who are B2C, and then they come back. In case if they get a problem, then they come back to us, ki this particular batch of yours, the problem is there. At that time, we need this traceability of this kind of from where, which field did the product came and all those things. So initially, people were not understanding why they require this. Ki they are not selling it to the customers, but finally it goes up to the farm. So that is to be taken care of and maintained. The records are to be maintained. HACCP ISO 22000 certification is required now, which is becoming compulsory. FSSAI food audits have become now, they have given it to the private companies like US FDA is not inspecting much, but they have nearly authorized NSF and USP. If your product, your company is NSF and USP certified, they ignore to come to your factory. So that's how probably our factory is not being inspected, because we have both the certifications. So other countries, wherever we go, we do the now like and we are going to the other countries. In those countries like Korea and all these things, we are following whatever the rules are there for them, because every country has got a different rule. Sometimes they are thinking about, I had attended couple of meetings in USA where they are thinking about making a global regulation, one only, the US, the Europe, but Europe has got very different distinct requirements. यानी कि like we do something like 64 pesticide for the USA, what material is going, and for EU they require 500 pesticides to be analyzed for that. So this becomes little difficult for all the global, because US will think that if they ask for very stringent conditions, probably the products which will be coming into the US market will become more expensive. So they don't follow that. Whatever is required, that much only, and whatever they have proofs, in that only they do the working. Critical points to monitor is incoming botanicals, solvent extraction, में residue, temperature control, then filtration, drying, packaging, microbial control, trace metals. That is also these heavy metals and all these things has also moved a lot. It was not being done initially. They were doing in the test tube, the color test and all these things. From that little they increased, and now it is ICP-MS is required, like for the if you are doing in the exports. Very few companies have the ICP-MS in the in-house, and mostly they are sending outside for the lab testing. So it becomes a little difficult for in the export region because your material is waiting till the analysis come from the third-party lab, and third-party labs are taking quite some time. And then for verification, you can send some of the, because we do some verifications in the US and Europe laboratories, but major all these things we are doing in-house only. In-house QA is required. So many people don't think that QA is that much important. They have just a quality control, and quality control is only handling quality assurance also. It should be a different division. Validated SOPs are required, and electronic record keeping and batch documentation is becoming more and more necessary because you can go through them very quickly in case of any problem comes. So enhancing the HACCP, ISO 22000, 2018, then FSSC 22000. These all different things are coming. Vulnerability, threat assessment, hazard analysis, and risk-based preventive control, real-time digital model of this thing operations, and immutable data logging from source to shelf. Now, what he talked about blockchain traceability. In this, US is already having that anybody who's importing it, they have to have a verification program for their source. And whoever they are importing from, they have to inspect them and have that report on their file. And FDA goes to them and finds out whether they have done that. In India, as yet, that has not, I think, taken one in this. So we have to probably enhance a bit of this for imports of the food and all these things. That inspection and the should be a must for they should be responsible. Whoever is importing should be responsible for that company. Then because regulatory agencies cannot go everywhere and do the analysis of that. HACCP compliant digital confidence, reactive control, manual locks, limited scope, and facility focus, the traditional, and evolved safety system, predictive stimulation, real-time digital dashboard, end-to-end food chain visibility, global supply chain integration. This should be there. Herbal extraction manufacturing, the IoT-enabled monitoring can be used to temperature and humidity, drying chambers, storage areas, solvent concentration, how it is going on, air quality, pressure difference in the clean rooms. Now, when we started and now the difference is that now they ask for the clean rooms for the once the powder is made, once your extract is converted into a product which is going to go out, from there onwards, it should be under the clean rooms and environmental sensors. That is as yet not installed here in India, but we do manual checking of this microbial load and all this thing. Water activity, moisture levels, because if the moisture levels are higher also, we have seen that by the time the product reaches the your site where you are exporting, whatever you had started with the microbial load, it increases by the time it reaches there. So equipment performance, including motors, filters, pumps, and your preventive maintenance and all these things should be very good. Then real-time alerts, temperature too high in the dryer, then automatic data logging. There are very few companies who put a data logger when they are sending the material from here to the another country. So if they put a data logger sometimes and see in different seasons how the temperature going up or going down during the transit, because none of these nutraceuticals are going into the this thing cold containers. They are going in the regular containers. So sometimes it takes 1.5 months to reach US shores. So during that time, what's the temperature difference and what it can do to the product? Then remote monitoring. You should be able to do that. Remote monitoring also, audit readiness. Audit readiness is if you have all this thing digital, this thing records, it becomes very easy. When the auditor comes, he's very happy to see because when he asks something, you give that straight document to him. The time is saved for that. So readiness should be perfect if you are having all that digital traceability and predictive maintenance, preventive this thing, equipment I was saying. So digital twin technology is again, it's like a simulation of a physical product line, mirror-like time operation, and predicts risk and inefficiency. Why it is matters in this thing? Because simulates solvent dynamics, drying profile, microbial kill steps, because this is very important, microbial kill steps in this, because all these herbs are coming from the field and they are full of bacterial contamination, because some soil also comes along with it. Even you do a washing, some of these microbials will remain on that. And early fault detection and corrective feedback, energy and yield optimization with real-time monitoring. Most of the products which are being rejected or called back are because of the microbial contamination in this segment. And aligning with global stakeholders, their expectations, whatever is the customer requires, like transparency is very important out of this. Purity, safety is definitely, but transparency, and if any problem comes, you have to inform them very well. So these things are like they come from the management. It's not that those things can be audited or something like that. So you cannot audit what is the transparency and all this thing. Then efficiency, scalable and reproducible operations. Use of energy, natural resources, environment is becoming very important. Just 2 days back, there was the Environment Day also. Commitment of India to the world is, we have a lot of wisdom, like in the traditional knowledge that Ayurvedic wisdom is there, scientific vigor is also there. And I'm very much for this Ayurvedic. In those days, without any instruments and in this thing, whatever they have found out is really remarkable. And still, there are so many things we are not understanding also, okay, why they have done certain things. So that has to be, somebody has to do it. We are slowly trying to find out what it is, what they have thought when they said certain things in that. Then committed to FSSAI, GMP, HACCP, and global standards. Digitalization and sustainability, that's what is required for the food practices. And this is my team of the company. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. Should I stop
Thank you, sir.
sharing? Yeah.
Thanks a lot. And your some briefing about the radiation brings me back to the Shriram Institute, SARC, during the time which we do the radiation for the apples to be exported, the gamma radiation. And a lot of questions are there, but because of the time limitation, we are skipping this particular question answer session to the last. And our next speaker will be Krishna Madam. I know Madam since last few years, and we met in September 2018 during World Food India. Madam, there's a lot of things to say, but in short, I will say she's a seasoned business person, strategy consultant, and expert in food safety and quality management systems. He worked as a lead auditor. He has extensive experience in auditing and improving management systems. So Madam has expertise in quality, sanitization, hygiene, and continuously enhancement of operational standards. And he has expertise in food safety ecosystem. So over to you, Madam, to put some light on the title, that is Talent Pipeline and Knowledge Transfer, equipping the next generation of food safety professionals. So yours is a visionary session, how the next generation will be helpful with this particular existing system, I would say. So over to you, Madam, to have your views on the title. Krishna.
Thank you so much, Shantanu-ji. Let me just see how I can share the screen. Ma'am, is it possible for you to share the screen? It's not happening from here.
Let me just give me 1 second, Krishna. Your
Yeah.
presentation, right? I do
Yes,
have
ma'am.
it. Aarti, you have it, right?
Yeah, I think
Yes.
it's here.
Yeah,
Okay.
Krishna, can you see? Yeah, Aarti
Right.
must.
Yeah. So good evening, everyone,
right.
and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. In fact, this topic is so close to my heart because I just love working with.
You can see?
Yes, ma'am, I can see. I love working with youngsters. You know, they usually keep you charged up at all times. Am I audible, ma'am? Hello?
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes. Yeah, you're audible.
Okay, right.
Yes.
So, to begin with, let me wish everyone a very happy World Food Safety Day because, you know, this food safety is a subject which is really today a global subject, and each of us need to be worried about it, not only food safety professionals. Can we go to the next slide, please? So, if we really look at the food safety workspace, so what has happened is over the years, I mean, last 20 years, there is a lot of complexity which has shown up in the global food system. That's because a number of new things came up. Supply chain became a very big thing to be looked forward to. Food started moving from one continent to another. A lot of exports, lot of imports happening across the globe. Then consumer expectations started growing. So even when I am in probably some other continent, I still want Indian food. And I want the Indian food to taste the way it tastes in Mumbai. So that's the way it is. So people expected pav bhaji in America to taste like the one that you get in Juhu Beach. So that is how it was showing up. And then there was a lot of regulatory vigilance, which has been growing over the period because definitely when you start keeping up to the consumer expectation, you tend to tweak the product to a very great extent. So, you know, many of us we became aggressive, we became over ambitious. We started making foods which would really be complete the original stuff, you know, but then with synthetic products. So, a lot of synthetic materials started coming into our foods. Also, then there was another aspect to it where we had a shortage of employable graduates, which still prevails. And it is a very, very concerning feature. We do have graduates, we have people being educated, but when we come to employing them, there is a problem. So what happened? Now, this food safety workspace has evolved so much that there has to be an out-of-box thinking. There has to be an ongoing innovation. And all this has to happen keeping compliance in mind. Because today we are not only talking about compliances in the country where we are manufacturing, but we are also talking about compliances for the countries where we are exporting our foods to. So the food safety workspace has evolved a lot over the last few years. Can we go to the next slide, please? Now, what are the challenges that we have in building our talent pipeline? So first of all, food safety is a very, very new subject. Let us all accept it. This subject really came in vogue only probably in the last 20 years or so. And that is where people started thinking, oh, food also needs to be safe. First, it was only food needs to be eaten. So now the food also needs to be safe. So the awareness about careers in food safety is just not there. Unless, like, there is somebody from the food world really going and speaking to the students. And many of us have done that in the past so that we can actually, encourage these students to come into the field of food safety. Like, if many of you may remember, like way back in the 1990s or early 2000, whoever graduated, for them the fields were, if you're a life science graduate, the fields used to be either teaching or getting into a laboratory. Nobody thought of a career in something like food safety, something like risk management or risk assessment. So that awareness has to still come in, and it has to, grow. Then also confusion among recruiters regarding the subject. So if we really look at large companies, especially the ones who are into diversified products, the recruiters at times are not aware of what they have to look for, especially if you have to look for somebody for food safety. There's a lot of confusion around it. They may write a good job description, but what are the basic competencies? The competencies are not really aligned to the job description. Also, the competencies, what are projected or what are asked for, are usually distorted. Then lack of understanding across stakeholders. So many a times it is found that people who are engaged in the manufacturing or even in the marketing of food products, they don't have a lot of knowledge about the food, and that's where the trouble starts happening. So you see, it's all about communication. Like when we talk about hiring talent for the industry, we also talk about communicating what we really want. So this lack of understanding creates a lot of confusion. And when we talk about these youngsters who have just graduated or who are just coming out of colleges and looking into the industry, they do not really understand what this world holds for them, and they cannot see a career in it. And that's really a difficult thing to accept for a fresh graduate. One of the reason is that though we talk about food safety, we are celebrating World Food Safety Day, but if you look at our curriculum, it does not talk about food safety in such a high spirit. So food safety will be one-off stuff, or it will be like, okay, today is World Food Safety Day, let us make some portraits, let us have some celebration around it. So we need to drive this food safety also through the curriculum. I still remember, like when I have visited a few colleges as a visiting faculty, or during this courses, online courses, the fresh graduates, when I have asked them about if they know something about HACCP, if they know something about food safety, the knowledge that they had or whatever they spoke was so superficial. They just really did not get what really was a hazard, what is to be looked for, and what needs to be done to really get it to the next level, or really go to the level wherein you can actually put up some mitigation procedures in place to control the hazard. So the awareness in our curriculum about this subject also needs to be brought in. Then lack of structured mentorship and succession planning. So we do not have a lot of apprenticeship or internship related features in our curriculum, or the way when the student tries to cover the distance between the educational institute and the industry. So there needs to be a mentorship period. There needs to be some internship period wherein these students come to know, what is the real world holding for them? What is there in this food safety world? What are we talking about? And then fragmented training and inconsistent skill standards. So what happens, though many kids may know what food safety is about, when they try to look for it in the internet, what they really find is some lead auditor courses, some awareness courses, some internal auditor courses, and these are the courses which will actually allow them to become auditors probably in future, but they do not get that they really need to go in and learn something which talks about the management of food safety or talk about the understanding of food safety. So there is a little inconsistency around it. Yeah, next slide, please. If we look at our next generation, the current generation which is coming out, they are very tech savvy. I would always say that they are much, much better than us. They learn stuff very fast. They have a beautiful way of, presenting themselves. They really know what they want in life. They want what they want in life. That's a very critical statement. Okay. They are very result oriented. They are very clear. I want to retire at this particular time, and for that, I need this. But what is required to cause all this is not known. So now they are ready to explore. They are interested in sustainability and aspects which lead to global impact. They want to reach out. They are much more vocal. They know every way of having big social contacts and getting people together, moving together. They are very good at it. These are the things that we need to learn from them. We need to be with them at it, because if we really want to make an impact, if we want food safety to become a word in every house, these kids can help us a lot. Then their preference is experiential learning, not books. So this is one thing which I've seen in colleges. When these kids, they are studying in the classroom and they ended up telling that if you are going to say this, we can Google it. Even the AI will teach us. Can you tell us something more? Can you tell us something that you dealt with? So they want real life examples. And that's where the disconnect is. Why? Because our education system has teachers, professors who have very, very less interaction with the industry. Their understanding about the industry or what happens in a factory is really not great. And that is where the child gets disconnected. So these students start thinking whatever is happening in the classroom is all illusion. They don't have any contact with the real world. Because when they come out in the open, post-graduation, they enter a factory, they do not know where to start with. They start looking at things as if, they're seeing some paranormal stuff around them. So experiential learning is something that needs to be brought in. And that's why probably this internship, which usually happens after they, in the last semester of their graduation, needs to start much earlier. Maybe when they are, in between their second year and the final year. If they have an internship wherein they go to a factory or where they do some good work around with auditors in food safety, they will learn a lot more. Then they also require visibility for their career progression and their impact. In food safety, till today, people have not been able to see a career. They all feel food safety is about auditors. They do not know food safety begins in the factory itself. Auditors are just one of the areas who go and tell them that, okay, this is meeting the requirement or not meeting the requirement. But actually, to start with what is the requirement of what needs to be met is something that begins in the factory, where there's a lot of more work than what an auditor can do. Can we go to the next slide, please? So when we talk about food safety professionals, especially, I think they need to be trained slightly differently than the normal graduates who would choose to go in different fields. And where does it all begin? So it all has to start with they having the food safety attitude. The moment we are able to ingrain in them the food safety attitude, they will, orient themselves around risk-based thinking. And that's the starting point. Because today, if we really look at food safety, it needs risk-based thinking. It cannot happen just like, oh, you have a problem with the temperature. Okay, let's do something and we'll correct the whole stuff. No, there has to be risk-based thinking around it. And that's where, it will all trail down to why it really happened. Then understanding of the HACCP principles. See, over a period, what has happened is from HACCP principles, we moved to FSMS, which actually brought HACCP and the management system standard together. Also, after the HACCP principle, some new terminologies got added to it. And now we are also reviewing these management system standards. But if a student has to begin or a food safety professional has to begin the journey, they have to start with the HACCP principle. They have to start knowing the HACCP first. The HACCP has to go deep down and everything else can be built over it. The foundation needs to be strong. Then they have to have proficient communication. This thing is very important in food safety, because if communication is not good enough, you may be very intelligent, you may be highly knowledgeable, but it makes no difference. Because if there is a risk and it cannot be communicated, everything is lost. One big point is a food safety professional needs to be ethical, because you are actually somebody who's also going to be responsible for public health. Because a consumer is completely unaware of what he's consuming. So a food safety professional needs to build himself or herself on certain basic integrity principles of being ethical, having the right attitude, being honest. All this needs to be ingrained. They have to have a mindset for regulatory reasoning. Reasoning is very, very critical, because in regulation also there are a lot of things and there is a particular reason why it has to be done. So it is just not for the sake of it. Many of us end up doing compliances just for the sake of it. And that is where the trouble begins. Because if we are doing it just for the sake of it and making some documents to just go through the audit or just go through the inspection, that will not hold us, strong for a long time. So a food safety professional needs to be, building it with the regulatory reasoning and understanding that whatever work they do, whatever documentation is required, is from the perspective of safeguarding the interest of the manufacturer or the trader or the retailer, whoever it is, and safeguarding the product to the extent that the product remains safe till it reaches the consumer. Then, of course, the food safety professional needs to have knowledge about regulations, codex, global standards, and also about technology, sensors, predictive tools. So when I talk about this, or when I was really making this presentation this morning, I seriously felt maybe for food safety, we should do a 6-month course for them, integrating all of these so that they are ready for the industry. They can be moved into the industry because they can come with all of it. Because these are the things which are not really touched upon in any curriculum. Yeah, next slide, please. So when we are building the talent pipeline, what do we really need to do? All the eminent speakers today spoke about partnership with the educational institutes. partnership with the industry. So the industry actually needs to partner with the educational institutes. Only then can we talk about what is the real deal. What are we really trying to address? Why are we talking about food safety in such a big way? Where is the risk? What are we actually seeing in the future? Introduce vocational programs which have a lot of food safety related information, what they can really do in food safety, which are the streams open for us, where can they really go and find work. We can introduce that. Then do a lot of food safety career awareness programs, maybe for the students who are graduating. Promote interdisciplinary innovation, because today we are aware that we need technology, we need mathematics, we need environment, we need ESG, everything together to actually have to prosper in a food industry, to ensure that the food is safe, to actually ensure food safety. We have to have interdisciplinary innovation and highlight the real world impact. You know, the students today really like to know, if they are studying something, where is the impact? And the impact is very big. The impact is at the food security level, at the sustainability level, and the where we are dealing with public health. In fact, there are a number of viral videos which really say that tomorrow's survival will depend upon how much you know to grow yourself. So there will be a time where we'll need to grow our own food, because only that will be reliable. So we are talking of those times. So if we highlight these issues to the students today, they will be encouraged to, take up food safety as a subject for themselves and contribute to the food world. Can we go to the next slide, please? Then technology as an enabler. If we start having these students and food safety professionals already understanding the simulation studies, then the AI driven risk assessments, they will actually evolve. They will evolve better. They can contribute a lot to the food industry. The food industry today has to adopt technology, or else it is very difficult for them to demonstrate compliance, very difficult for them to demonstrate conformance. So this needs to be brought into the system. And then they're using the learning management systems across the industry. And also, we all say that, yes, we are a generation up. So we need to share knowledge. We need to share knowledge with these students. I think many from our generation should really now start looking at going to colleges and talking to the students personally, addressing them and telling them what is there in the food world, what is waiting for them, how can they contribute to the future, how can they ensure that there can be sustainable practices, there can be food safety, and it will all be available to them, and we can really have a world which is sustainable, which will be good, planet friendly, and we can have safe food for all. So this needs to be brought in. This has to be brought in. This has to be, spread across. And we are not talking about one or two colleges. We are talking about a number of colleges, number of educational institutes, from where the students will come in. They will join many food organizations, but they have to be ready for the industry. So we can all contribute to actually getting them ready when they come out of colleges. Next slide, please. Also, the knowledge transfer can happen within an organization through SOPs, through mentorship programs, from the peer learning circles, which, if it is there in many factories, many industries, it is prevalent, it is there. Then working as an observer, rotational assignments. So care is being taken in, making a food safety professional really competent to take on their role as an independent person. And these are some of the methods in which the knowledge transfer can be done to the people who are already engaged in an industry. Yeah, next slide, please. And also, if we can build a very robust ecosystem wherein we can engage our students with experts, quantifiable impacts will be there. We will have reduced compliance errors. In fact, it has been seen where there is a academia industry partnership, and when they pick up the students who already know about their factories and about their manufacturing processes, the compliance errors reduce by nearly 30 to 40%. So this is the quantifiable impact which we can see. Then improved audit readiness. Now we heard some time back Ritu telling us unannounced audits. And this is going to happen. I mean, with time, unannounced audits will be the norm. So audit readiness has to be there. At any given time, an auditor may walk in, an inspector from the regulatory body can walk in, and they need to see everything in place. Things have to be compliant. Things have to be conforming to the requirements. Then retention of critical knowledge. So when we train our people well, when we make them competent, we can ensure that the critical knowledge is retained. Then crisis response efficiency gets enhanced when we have competent people around us and we have trained them well. Then innovation in safety practices. As I said, this generation kids are amazing. They can think far ahead of us. So, the best part about them is that they question themselves and others. And that's where innovation really shows up. So innovation in safety practices will show up. Cost reduction, which is one of the most important things for any entrepreneur, any business owner. That could be one of the biggest things an entrepreneur will look forward to when they have trained and competent people with them. And then faster onboarding and skill ramp up. So you don't waste a lot of time training people when they have come into the factory to do their job. If you have done all of this beforehand, you are actually having ready candidates who can actually take on their work the day they join in. And that's what we have to look forward to. Food safety professionals can be trained while still in college, and then they can be brought into the industry to serve the industry from the day they join them. Yeah, next slide, please. So again, since this particular session was essentially from the future, so who are we preparing to take our place and how? This is a question that we are all going to stay with, because we all need to brainstorm. We all need to come together, think of how we can, ensure that these food safety professionals, they become competent, they evolve, they become better than us, and they serve the industry, they serve our planet. Thank you so much for your patient listening with this. Any questions, I will be happy to answer.
Thank you, madam, for this, the linkage between the students and academicians. Professor is also with us. So 2 days back, I am watching a movie that is Super 30. And it is a very effective way of learning that is to be there. So I would say science could be read in the classrooms, but can't learn. We have to go to the field. So as far as the HACCP is concerned, I ask whenever in the training, go for do the HACCP for in your kitchen. Okay, if you make chapati, do HACCP for chapati. HACCP is not for learning, it is for doing. So to the participants, we have a very good panelist. So over to you, participants. Any questions, any remarks regarding the session? Yes, please. Yes, madam. So far.
Sorry.
Yes.
You were saying.
So,
Please.
madam, is there any question in the message box so far?
Just checking. I'm just checking. Some suggestions, some thoughts. No questions. There are no questions, I guess. We can actually go and do the summing up of the sessions and we can.
So I have one query for Ritu.
I have one question.
Yes, sir. Yes, please.
Just general to all, you can put your thought in that, particularly on feed industries. Okay, we have plenty of clients who work on feed and pet foods. Okay, when pet food industries or feed industry need to register with the FSSAI. Let us say fish meal, fish oil, complete feed manufacture for poultry industries, fish industries, or they come under this FSSAI norms, or when they have to register with the FSSAI regulations. Can you put your thought or view in this?
Pradeep Chakravarti, sir.
Sir, you're muted.
You're mute.
Sir, you're muted.
Yeah, what are the question?
Yeah, sir, feed industries. Companies supplying feed to poultry, cattle farm, fish, prawn, all these, they are making the feed. Okay. Are they coming under these FSSAI norms now? Because they are part of food chain. They are coming out farm to fork. What are all the regulations or applicable norms they are having as per FSSAI?
No, as per FSS Act, actually, only human food comes under the purview of the FSS Act, not animal feed. Okay.
So far it is not started, no?
Yes,
Okay, fine.
it has not started. But
Yes,
in
sir.
other countries, actually, it is there.
Yeah, right now it is not there, but I feel it should be, because it covers the what is being going to the feed to the fishes in the ponds has ultimately come to the human consumption also, right?
Yes.
So let us see what is there in the amendment bill. So one amendment bill is there, 2020. Let us see how it could be. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Can I add to that, which Mr. Pradeep has said?
Yeah.
So he clearly mentioned that FSSAI comes under for the food. It does not comes under for the feed. But the problem is, let's assume you are trying to grow a fish. Okay, it becomes food only when it comes to your plate. Okay, as a consumer, when you purchase that fish from a market, then only it becomes a food. Before that, it is simply an agricultural produce. Probably there are different standards, I'm sure, for different agricultural produce. So that is the challenge why FSSAI is not including, animal feed inside, or in the case of as a food, treating it as a food, because it has to be purchased by the consumer. Then only it can become food. Let's assume if you go to a mango farm and you pick a mango and then you eat it, it's still an agricultural produce. You cannot go sue the farmer because he probably have fed you some pesticide-laden mangoes.
Right, sir. As far as the regulation.
Yeah, FSSAI comes into the picture once it is placed in the market for sale. Before that, farmers and fishermen are not within the purview of the FSSAI. So that is the real problem, and discussion is going on also. At one stage, actually, it was thought that feed also should be regulated by the FSSAI, but it was not, because for that, actually, you have to amend the Act, actually, FSSAI Act. That has not happened so far.
Okay, sir. Okay, fine.
But where does the feed get regulated? So it is not it's an unregulated sector?
In India, it is unregulated only. Presently, it is unregulated. That's what I'm raising this question to this forum. I'm presently unregulated. I can put in this way. In India, starting food industry is a big challenge. Starting feed industry is not a big deal. But in US and Europe, it is ulta. Starting feed industry is very big difficult task, because that entire industries got well regulated. There are a lot of challenge in starting that industry. Let us say in Europe Union, starting on fish feed industry is mandatory. They should have biological lab. Microbiology lab is mandatory. In India, even you can see, just like the people buying the material, they're getting their formation, they're mixing and selling as their own brand name, as just having inspector of factory regulation, they are selling in market. Okay, so that's what it's happening now. It need to be get controlled. So that's what I'm trying to put in this forum to make some sort of thinking process. I'm working for fish meal, fish oil, feed industries, cattle feed industries. All are working for GMP plus and FSMA certificate and all. But nothing is added specific regulation from Indian government. All are going as per the customer requirement. Yeah. So that challenge is there. Still, it is there.
There is no regulations. There is no GST on that.
When the drugs,
It's
when the
coming under
drugs are
agriculture
produ-
products sometimes.
when the drugs are produced like this, then talk about feed. Nobody cares when the drugs are produced like this for a human consumption. Who cares about a feed? There's a question in the chat box. I guess Professor Praveen has responded.
Yeah.
Yeah. If a feed industry, Shantanu-ji, can you see the question from K. Malti?
Messages actually.
If a feed industry produces collagen for human consumption,
Yeah.
is it required to be registered or regulated under FSSAI? I guess Professor Praveen has responded for that. If it is used as an ingredient for food formulation, then yes, and it needs to be certified by FSSAI.
So, madam, in
Collagen,
questions?
collagen is an
Any
approved
questions?
ingredient. Collagen is an
Ah.
approved ingredient.
Ah,
by the
right.
FSSAI.
This is what.
Yeah.
So nowadays collagen getting used for food and feed purpose. If client is requiring, they made only for feed purpose, they may get exclusive for FSSAI.
Yeah.
If it is made for human consumption, obviously FSSAI requirement is needed.
Yes.
Yes.
One question. There are any questions? I would like to ask one question, Mr. Pradeep, since you're from the regulatory background, and we also request you to consider this question to be taken up for representation. Forget about food. We are asking for a similar one, even in the drug space also. Whether it is a food industry or a drug industry or medical devices, whichever it is, okay, everything has got to connect with human health. See, a lot of claims on a daily basis on research excellence, innovation excellence, innovative products, but we don't find, first of all, scientific personnel being deployed in the industry itself. We do not find scientific workforce, and to be very honest, how many of the entrepreneurs are technocrats, or they actually come with a technical background, promoters themselves, okay? Now, but who is auditing their research and R&D? R&D teams, their technical infrastructure. See, because without this, there's a rampant claims in the market today, every day. It's a research, innovation, global excellence. These are all the things. So I think it is the time, because the regulatory framework itself is very silent upon the specification on the scientific personnel to be deployed, and the need for creating an R&D infrastructure, and all these are missing in the regulatory framework itself. So without which the industry is going, with loose statements, and, every day, whether you're a micro, small, even we don't find large businesses with kind of an regulatory appetite. So on one side, we see all this real research and innovation happening in the academic corridors. It is a fact that industry has no appetite to work with the academia to invest into this with so many schemes and whatever it is. But the claims, so we personally feel in a STEM domain, the regulators have to really come out with a very clear framework on what should be the scientific personnel, because I was actually listening to one of the conversations by DGCI in the drug space, okay, in one of the industry corridors. So the kind of points that he was raising were also very valid and relevant. So that audit first of all, there has to be some definition in the regulatory framework. Can't say that in the scientific world, you have to mention that you have to employ, your research team should have this qualification, this qualification, this qualification, your operations team should have this qualification, this qualification. All these things are totally missing. You can't leave everything to the industry, right? So today we find that only people like working in a shop floor, blue collar workers are running the scientific domains, which is also dangerous. So we want you to take up this, because first of all, who is evaluating? We want to know R&D, innovation claims that we are seeing on a daily basis, but who's evaluating? Regulators are keeping quiet.
Now, let me clarify this. We have
Please.
actually claims and advertisement regulations 2020, and some permitted claims are already there. If you want to make some other claims, actually, we have a claim approval committee also in FSSAI. You have to submit application along with data and this studies. and then actually, unless you get the approval, you cannot claim. But some violators are always there, so they are violating the regulations. They are
No,
violating the
regulatory framework. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, my question is, it's not a claim. There has to be a regulatory framework. Framework has to define on the minimum scientific pool or the talent pool that they have to appoint and what should be their qualification. We as consultants who are working closely with the industry, we don't find R&D cells, we don't find R&D personnel, we don't find research and innovation teams. But then how do we get those claims? My product is it's an innovative product. So some evaluation has to be done, right, from the regulator. So your framework has to define it. See, the scientific thought process has to get into that business, that innovations will happen only when there has to be this thing. Regulatory frameworks are silent. One of the frameworks in the recently introduced medical devices, let me draw the analogy. Who can sell a medical device product in the country in 8th standard qualified, 10th standard qualified? Sorry, absolutely. This is not how it has to be. And who are the users of your medical devices? Are medical professionals. There has to be some frameworks which needs to encourage that scientific this thing. So it is not just about who is selling. I mean, who is making it, who is selling also matters. So regulatory frameworks generally at the manufacturer side or manufacturers claim mine are innovative research, high R&D, excellent R&D, but we don't see anything inside. So regulators in your framework itself is silent on R&D and innovation. So that needs to be addressed. So this is our submission. Please request you all to take it up with the regulators. And this is the need of the hour, and so much focus in the country on research innovation. But only claims from the industry. There is no evaluation. And from the licensing is the first primary level of assurance. I keep saying this regularly. Primary responsibility, anything going wrong lies only with the regulator, not with any certification body, accreditation bodies. So this is why we want you to introduce an R&D framework or a structure or innovative this thing in the regulatory framework for the licensing framework for the businesses. Otherwise, it's going to be very, very tough and challenging, and because consumers are only being given the claims actually. So that is silent on the regulatory frameworks. Forget about businesses making 1,000 claims. Somebody has to evaluate your R&D capabilities. Where is the evaluation? In a scientific domain, STEM domain. This is what it is. That is what I wanted to place it on record here. Pradeep ji, please take it up with your internal discussions.
Actually, there was a this thing for the research laboratories.
Yes.
DSIR approved laboratories were there. Initially, they used to inspect also, and they used to come to the factories, inspect it, and then give a certificate. Then suddenly the government stopped giving any incentive for the research. Still, DSIR approved labs are there, but now nobody inspects them.
Absolutely.
So
there are very
is
few,
there.
but what is happening is every micro business claims innovative product, small business claims, medium business claims, and our R&D, product of our R&D, but we don't find any R&D happening at all. That is only happening in the academic setting. So they're not even collaborating there. See, this is what it is. So these are the claims which are going.
There is a lot of work going on in industry also.
At
some point, I like to make one point here. Some of the herbal products, though it is a medicine, though they are internally claiming as a medicine, they are not able to getting proper R&D or lab or proper way to launch their product. They are claiming that as a nutraceutical product and coming under FSSAI. That is the level it is going now. Even I'm getting at least 2 to 3 clients in a week stating that, sir, it is a medicine for some product, but I'm not able to get any medical license. I want to claim that as a nutraceutical. Simply they're claiming that as a FSSAI and they're publishing as a food product. Actually, what Madam telling is absolutely right. If it is continuous, if it is not properly supported by R&D, by FSSAI or something, then it is going to impact like this. Wrong product with the wrong title may reach a people and it may destroy another way of our rules and regulations. One way people all of these.
We have Nutra Regulations 2022.
It help us.
So, and there is no provision of this in the FSS Act or rules or regulations. There is no provision of the qualification of research personnel. So, what should be the qualification of the R&D personnel in any organization? They have to, if they want to introduce innovative products, they can get it approved by your R&D, by our expert group, and then only it is possible. And only we could only do this fast-track training through fast-track training programs. We could only do at least one supervisor to be trained under fast-track training program.
That's for
Actually,
me, yes, it
Pratibha, that is, people come to FSSAI so that allopathic doctors can prescribe, not that other reason. Because allopathic doctors cannot prescribe Ayurveda products. So they go to whatever that list is there, 400 list. If any of the botanicals are in that, they just mix it up and take a license in FSSAI. Though it is GST is more on FSSAI products than Ayurvedic, but the prescription is on that. That's why they go there.
Yes.
In our Nutra Regulations 2022, Schedule 3, actually 439 botanicals have been approved. So you can make nutraceuticals or health supplements by using these botanicals and health supplements, botanicals. So that is there.
There is a question, Shantanu ji, from Sahadev Prasad.
Yeah.
What are the emerging risks in novel food products, such as plant-based meats, lab-grown meat, edible insects?
See, plant-based meat actually not yet introduced in India, though it is though there is regulation for these products by Singapore Food Agency and also in Netherlands. But in India, actually, nobody has ever started to use this product. So clean meat products, we call it. There is a project also, clean meat project, but nobody is interested in India.
Okay. I remember, I'm not too sure, maybe some plant-based meat, some innovator from one of those academic institutions I saw. I'm not too sure about the license actually, but it has gone for commercialization. It's happening. A lot of plant-based meat products are there commercialized in the country. See, this is what it is in a regulated sector. Regulated, unregulated products are also in the market space. Regulated products in the regulated sector, I'm talking about the claims on R&D, innovations and all that from the licensed businesses. I'm not even talking about unlicensed businesses. Some kind of R&D and innovation audits have to happen. This is what we wanted to suggest. Any other questions? I'm just looking at it.
Ma'am, all the queries are being answered. But just to add to it, usually we need to mention the food gastronomy also. So what I feel, gut has one of the important thing that is to be considered. If the novel food is there, I think the gut has the ability to identify the food and accept that food. And Ayurveda speaks also a bit about that. So this is my view. If about the novel food is concerned, the food which is in our tradition is being well accepted, and our all digestive system responded well. So this is my version of that query. Over to you, madam. So can we continue the discussion?
Yeah.
Main thing is how they're claiming on the label is most important. Yeah. So based on the claiming on the label, it can be.
We can conclude the session. If there are no questions, we can conclude the session, Shantanu ji. It's fine. We can.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So you want to summarize something, or can we just conclude the session? Any questions on BRCGS? Ritu Bajaj has given any questions related to BRCGS? You can write to BRCGS. She's given the email ID.
Right. So thanks, Ritu madam. We will mail it to you if any queries there, and all the participants might have noted that your email address. Thanks for the courtesy you have extended that you will still available after the session.
Yeah.
And thanks to all the panelists, Pradeep sir, Lal sir, Krishna madam, Prem Kumar ji, and other participants. To you, madam, also CCC for conducting these wonderful sessions, the thought-provoking sessions. Hope the results and the summary of this session could be helpful in designing the policies further. Over to you, madam.
So thank you. Any
It's
help?
my privilege to thank our president of Triple C, Rama madam. Yeah, she is taking huge effort for making this kind of programs. I don't know how she is getting time, but dedication is make her to conduct this kind of training program. Literally, I like to thank to our president Rama madam for this wonderful section, and Aarti also for making great arrangement for getting spreading these sessions to various audience. Yes, getting this, it's a great effort. Thank you, Rama madam. Make this industry getting benefit through you.
Thank you. Thank you. There's one question from Mr. Danesh Kumar. In the DART manual, DART manual, why fish and fishery products are not included?
It is not included in the act. That's why it is not included.
I know you were mentioning, actually you were mentioning it
Yes.
is meant for human consumption and but okay. But fish and fishery products, okay, fair enough. It is not included, right? Got it. So anyhow, any questions, please write to us. I'll just mention the CCC's website and email ID. You can always write to us. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank all our wonderful speakers who have really taken time out of their busy schedules and routine, and today being a holiday, in fact, for that matter, to join us to spread this knowledge and part of the knowledge sharing initiative. So we always have in all our conversations, because we come from this domain of standard certifications and regulations, we always bring regulatory perspective into it. We always bring conformity assessment bodies perspective, industry perspective, academia. Academia plays a very crucial role in all our conversations, because that innovations and research is happening in academia. In fact, a lot of their innovations and research of late, if you see, very high impact initiatives which will benefit the society and community at large. This is what academic institutions are supposed to actually focus on, and they are doing it. But how it is happening globally, that support by the industry collaborations, we are very weak. It is not happening in the country. Hope that it will improve. So our conversations, we always bring multiple dimensions, and consultants also be part of this, because we are also part of the supply chain of the conformity assessment. It's a collective engagement and collective thought process that we would like to share bring a lot of these perspectives. And generally all the sessions, if you find every session, even today's session had about 75 to 80 registrations. People going on a vacation, being a weekend holiday, what we have seen is those who are working in workplaces, they find it tough to join the sessions during the daytime. So that is why they always go back and watch our YouTube recordings. Every session will get uploaded in our channel. It will be communicated to everybody, not only the delegates, even those who have not registered, been part of our programs. They all watch the videos, because we believe in knowledge dissemination. How it is done, it's immaterial. So we have another session coming on Monday, which is on World Accreditation Day. All of you will get a communication. Invite you all to also participate and be part of it. See, this is the country's economy, the GDP, the growth, everything will happen only if all of us work collectively, and where we all have to demonstrate our responsible conduct. Not just applicable for businesses, it is for everybody. Any product that leaves the country's border should not come back as a recall or a return on quality and safety grounds. So that's a commitment that all of us should have and should take. We are really a little concerned about the quality and safety focus that we are seeing in the industry corridors. The certificates are just being bought. There are a lot of fake certificates in the market. We're seeing increasingly claims only, but then not really no action is happening. So this behavior has to change. All our intent is generally to create this awareness, sensitization, and ensure that all of us are responsible for taking care of the consumers and the public health. So we will continue to do some conversations. We have experts here in our forum, like we have Krishna, we have Prem, we have Shantanu ji. We are going to create some more conversations because there's 100% claims by recent FSSAI regulation. Also, we will be doing a conversation. Maybe in about a month or 2 months' time, we will reach out to you all. Please keep joining us. All of us are learning, unlearning, and relearning in the process. That is the whole objective. So I would like to thank you all once again for the time and efforts taken, put in, and joining us. So with this, we will log off for the day and wishing you all a happy weekend too. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.